Hi guys, welcome to your second video. In this video, you will be learning how to multiply decimals. Previously, you learned how to divide decimals. So we will be multiplying decimals the traditional way. The first thing we'll do is we'll go over the notes portion. I'll show you an example and then we'll do 2 practice problems together and then we'll move on to the activity in class. I do know that there's one thing that you guys like to do, or at least some of you guys like to do, which is called lattice. If you do use lattice, try not to with these notes today. I really want you guys to practice learning the traditional way of multiplying. And hopefully that will help you in your future as well. Okay, so you can follow along. Remember, again, you can pause at any time if you need to catch up, or if you have any questions at all during the video, you can pause the video and ask a teacher as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. You should have picked up your traditional multiplication with decimals notes in the class today, and we will go ahead and scroll down here to get the first part of the notes. It says, for the rules, when multiplying the numbers or multiplying decimals, you just multiply the numbers as if they were whole numbers. You're going to line up the numbers on the right. So move them all the way over to the right, and you do not align the decimal points. The only time you ever align the decimal points is if you are adding and subtracting. You didn't have to do it with division, and you don't have to do it with multiplication. Okay? You will always start on the right, and you'll multiply each digit in the top row by each digit on the bottom row, just as you would with whole numbers. Okay, oops, there we go. Okay, after you do that multiplication, you will then add the products. Okay, and each number that you multiply on the top, you'll see it'll create a new row, and that's those rows are the products that you're going to add together. Okay. Now the decimal point, okay, you're going to place the decimal point in the answer by starting at the right, and then you're going to move the points, the number of spaces equal to the sum of the decimal places and both numbers being multiplied together, okay? I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. But just a reminder, when you see the word sum, it means the answer to an addition problem, okay? And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean here. So let's go ahead and scroll back down. First, here's the example. Okay, they have 37 and 7/10 times 2 and 8/10. Okay, you are going to align the decimals or align the numbers all the way to the right. And it just so happens that the decimals align up. It won't always happen that way. Okay, sometimes you'll see 37.7 times 28 or 37.7 times 0.28, but it doesn't matter. You're always going to line them all the way over to the right. And it just so happens that for this problem, the decimals are aligned up. Okay. So if you notice, I color coded these. You'll see that the 8 is the blue number, okay? And you start with the number all the way to the right, and your 8 is going to go to multiply by your 7 first, which is where you see the 6, and there'll be a 5 up here, okay? Then you do 8 times 7 again plus 5, which is why you see that 1 there. Okay, and then you'll see 8 times 3, which then is 24, but then you have to add your 6, which is why you get 30. Okay, and then for the next one, so your next number is 2, and notice I put it in yellow to try to help you. Since I'm moving over a place value, I have to drop down a 0 because I'm done with my 8, I'm moving over to my 2. So I'm going to drop down a 0 underneath my first number here. Okay, then I'm going to start multiplying with my 2. My 2 is then going to go to my 7, my first 7 here. Okay, so 2 times 7 is 14, which is why they have this 4. And then I would carry a 1 at the top. Okay, so that's where a 1 would go. Okay, then I get 2 times 7 again, which is 14, plus the 1 is 15, which is why that 5 is down there. And I would put another 1 up here. Then 2 times 3 is 6, plus the 1 is 7. Okay, so notice all of the values for the 8, all of the products are in blue, and all of the products for the 2 are in yellow. And then that red 0 is just because I had to move over a place value. Okay, and this is the next part is exactly what I mean by finding the sum of your products. Okay, so I'm going to add everything that I got with my 8 and everything that I got with my 2 together. So when I add them together, I have 6 plus 0 is 6, 1 plus 4 is 5, 0 plus 5 is 5, and 3 plus 7 is 10. Now, this is where the place value is then going to come into play with your decimal point. So if you look here, I only had one place value for my 7 for where my decimal point in order to create a whole number. I only have to move my decimal point one place value in order to create a whole number for my 2.8 also. So for my 2 decimal place values, I'm going to add them together to determine how many places I'm going to move my decimal in my final answer. So because I move them 2 decimal places, I then move my decimal point 2 places to the left. So if I start from the right, I will move it 2 places to the left, and that's how I get 105.56. Okay? Let's go ahead and start from scratch from a problem. So let's do the practice on the back. So let's do these together. All right. It says here we have 9.683 times 6.1. So I'm going to start with my first value, which is 1. And notice that I pushed all of those numbers over to the right and my decimal points don't line up because when you're multiplying, you don't have to align the decimals. So 1 times 3 is 3. And then I'm going to keep with my 1 and go 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 6 is 6. And 1 times 9 is 9. After I finish with my value of 1, I cross it off just to help me. And since I'm moving over a place value, don't forget to add your 0. Okay. After I add my 0, I'm then going to do my 6 to all of my top numbers. So 6 times 3 is 18. I'm going to put the 8 and carry the 1. Then 6 times 8 is 48, plus 1 is 49. So I'm going to put the 4 or the 9 and carry the 4. Then 6 times 6 is 36, plus the 4 is 40. So I'm going to put the 0 and carry the 4. Okay. Then 6 times 9 is 54, plus the 4 is 58. Okay. So notice how it's all nice and neat, all lined up. So then after I'm finished with my 6, I can then go ahead and add my products together. So 3 plus 0 is 3, 8 plus 8 is 16, 9 plus 6 plus 1 is 16, 9 plus 1 is 10, 8 plus 1 is 9, and then 5 is left. Okay, I'm not done because I still have to determine the place value of my decimal. So if you look here, in order to make my top number a whole number, I have to move my decimal point 3 spots. So I'm going to put a 3 out here. For my 6.1, I only have to move it 1 spot in order to make it a whole number. So then the total number that I have to move my decimal is 4 place values. So then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4 place values. So my final answer for this problem is 59.0663. Okay, we'll do one more problem together. But before I do it together, I do want you to go ahead and pause the video and see if you can try it on your own. And then as soon as you're ready, you can go ahead and press play. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve this problem. If we start with my 2, I'm going to do 2 to all of the top numbers. 2 times 3 gives you 6. 2 times 5 gives you 10, so I'm going to put the 0 and carry the 1. 2 times 2 gives you 4, plus the 1 is 5. Since I'm done with my 2, I cross it off and I'm moving over a place value, so I'm going to bring down a 0. Then I'm going to go ahead and do my 5 to all of my top numbers. So 5 times 3 would be first. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 5 is 25, plus the 1 is 26. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 2 is 12. Then I'm going to add my products together. So 6 plus 0 is 6, 0 plus 5 is 5, 6 and 5 is 11, 1 and 2 is 3, and then I just have 1 left. Once again, I'm going to do my place values, and this one I only moved it 1 to make it a whole number, 1 to make it a whole number. I add those two together, so I know I have to move it a total of 2. So when I come down here to move it, 1, 2 spots. Then my final answer is then going to be 131 and 56 hundredths. Okay, get your notes checked by your teacher, and then you guys can move on to the activity.